One, two, three.
God! Get your guys down to wardrobe. Come on. We're burning daylight here. Scramble a remote crew. We're going live.
Hello, and welcome to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show.
Cancel them. Cancel them all.
Oh, but.
I'm just starting to get good.
Yeah, I'm just starting to get good. We're not going to listen to Spiral. I am your host, Skelrel. Not to be confused with Spiral, of course. And with me, as always, is my co-host.
What are you doing here, pretty boy?
It's always better when you have to explain the joke. It's funnier that way, you see.
Yeah, exactly.
It adds humor to the
exactly.
yes. In case they don't
my co-host, Major Demondre. Major Demondre.
Thank you.
Yes,
good. I am here. Yes, welcome back to the show.
We also have a guest with us tonight. It was gonna be X-Man Dan, but X-Man Dan couldn't make it. But we have a guest just as good.
Who is our guest?
Well, I'll tell you, sir. My friend, your friend, everybody's friend, Worldmind, Chris Murphy. How you doing, buddy?
Hey guys, I'm shaking. Standing in for Dan, if you will.
Yeah, a Dan-in.
Dan, exactly.
Like you're like just as good. Like we have like a rating system for our guests. It's like, you know, Dan's a solid 8.
Well, I mean, we've already admitted that
he's a man, not a number, Gavin.
Is much better at this than we are.
It's true, he is. He really is. If anything ever happens to me, I'm gonna leave a note in like in a safe or something. So if anything ever happens to me that it like literally guilts Dave into doing the show in my place, it would be like his dying wish was Dave Cutler had to fill in your spot continually for the show. Dave would have to do it, otherwise I'd haunt him forever.
Yeah, exactly. That's fair.
It's a new level of ghosting.
That's right. It'll be me peering over his shoulder, telling him how to draw various X-Men characters for the rest of eternity.
That hand looks like shit.
Yeah.
We are here to review season 3, episode 10, Longshot, which is a bit in its new placement, let's just say. This is the season 3 episode with the season 5 art, and I'm sure we'll have lots to say about that. But
up until
I thought the art was
written by Stephen Melching and David McDermott, and directed by Larry Houston.
Friend of the show, Larry Houston.
Friend of the show, Larry Houston.
Do we call him friend, associate, compatriot?
I don't know. We got to have him on the show. Then he's friend for.
Do we call him a well-wisher, and that he probably doesn't wish us any specific harm?
Yeah, I don't think he does wish us much harm.
Okay, good. That's good.
Yeah.
I prefer the term near-do-well.
Ooh, well, that implies he's going to do something bad.
Well, before we get going here, I have a segment for everything. So here we go.
There are a billion segments on this show, as you will come to see.
Catching up with Chris. So what's up, Murphy? We haven't seen you on this show, but one thing I want to ask you is, where are you coming at with the X-Men animated series? Were you a lover as a child? Have you rewatched it as an adult? What's your perspective coming in here?
You know what? I was a dedicated fanboy as a kid. The X-Men cartoon was the apex of shows for me. You know, okay.
Millie's destroying my room here. But,
it's a kid. How could you do so much damage? That was so loud.
She just knocked a metal garbage can over. I don't know how she did it.
God.
She's something else.
A demon in cat form.
Yeah. Back to you, Murphy.
Yeah, no, I remember being a kid, and there was a series of X-Men cards I was collecting. I think they were like 97, 94. It was just like a series of Marvel cards in general, but between that, like that collection of cards that I would get from the convenience store down the road, and
Probably
the
Marvel
cartoon, I was
Masterworks. I
just
remember those ones. Those are really, really good.
yeah. I think it was the Marvel Masterworks
Yeah.
ones. They were just like really amazing, like oil painted ones.
Yeah, I think it was.
That could have been the
Juiceco?
Fleer ones as well. Maybe there
The
was
Joe
the Fleer
Juiceco art
set.
ones were the
Oh, the Marvel Masterpieces.
Yeah, the Marvel Masterpieces.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
they were
Fantastic.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah,
There'll
I
never
would
be a
just
better
take
card set
couple
in the
cards
history of
off. No, you know what? I gave that to a friend, and I kind of regret giving that to a friend.
Oh, no. There's a book
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
There's a book out there that I have that has a lot of them in it. I think it's a later run, but it's still pretty cool. It's definitely worth checking out.
Nice.
Well, here's mine right here, so we can take a couple peeks.
Oh, you got the whole set?
I think
I have the whole set of the 93 ones.
There's our boy
Yeah, that's
Cyclops. These ones you're talking about, Murphy?
Yeah.
I have the whole set of that series.
Got our boy Colossus there.
Oh yeah, that's a good.
I don't know if they were that year or if they were previous to that. Like they were,
to my knowledge, they only did 2
early
years
to
of
mid
Marvel
90s.
Masterpieces.
Yeah, mine were like the early mid 90s is when they had come out. Like,
yeah, this was 92.
Like,
yeah, I think you're talking about the Fleer sets. The Fleer sets looked really good too, and they came out after these ones.
Yeah, it might have been those ones.
They were really good. They did X-Men ones and Marvel ones, I believe. Yeah, I remember those characters too. I didn't really get into them.
Yeah, it totally was the Fleer set.
Yeah, that's a good set.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's a classic. One of the best. I still think Marvel Masterworks is the best, but the Fleer set was really nice too.
Yeah.
What a great time it was to be a fan. There was so many. I mean, you didn't get as much TV cartoon stuff as we do now, but you like some of the cards and Wizard Magazine and all this fun stuff that you don't really have as much now. It's weird. I wish we could have that with what we have now, and it'd be so much better. Just bring it all together.
It wasn't the Fleer set. It was the 94 Marvel Masterpieces.
Oh wow, they did do them in '94. Okay, I thought.
It was. Yeah, it was.
It wouldn't have been Juiceco, I don't think, by then.
No. It might have been the Hildebrands. They were doing it too. Greg and Tim Hildebrand. They did a lot of.
Yes, it was. It was Hildebrand. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it 100% was those guys. Now that you say that name, I completely remember that name.
Yeah, no, the Lord of the Rings stuff too.
Oh, I wonder if I can get that card set back. Honestly, I want it back. It was like something It was something.
I'm sure it's on Amazon.
Yeah, it was something my mom and I did. Like mom would go to the convenience store and she would get the little card pack for me, and I'd like build. As literally, I think I was only like 3 or 4 cards away from having the entire collection.
Like, even the special cards. There's always like this.
Even the special, like the hollow, like legitimately, like it was like 2 hollows and like one of the like main collection. Like that's how close it was to having.
I think it's in the basement somewhere, but I bought a box set that came with everything from the '93 Marvel Masterworks. So you got every card in just one set. They're the holofoils, the versus ones where they have the Spider-Man versus Venom and the Sabretooth versus Wolverine, Captain America and Red Skull, like the Spider-Man and all the classic pair-ups. It was really cool.
Yeah,
that was a good card.
Yeah, between the card set and the cartoon back in the day, like I watched them.
All those.
The gloss.
Oh yeah. Oh, so glossy. That's so glossy.
Everything had a layer of gloss or a glitter.
Yeah, look at
that shine on the thing there. Look at that beautiful shine.
I was looking through old Spider-Man comics, and those ones they put out where it's literally just like a holofoil card stuck in the middle for like they did it as the annual that year for every Spider-Man title. It's like, man, that's like a weird bygone era of strange gimmicky covers.
No, our young friend, we are not talking about Pokemon. This is long before the days of Pokemon.
Yeah, it was the true collector cards. No,
at least in my mind, it was. In my mind,
not that long. I mean, the cartoon and the card series came out in like the late '90s. So
yeah, about the same time of year actually. But yeah, so between the cards and the cartoon, I would watch. I'm fairly certain. Now, I haven't gone and rewatched as an adult, but I'm fairly certain I've seen every episode of X-Men that ever aired as it aired, and I would watch like reruns and stuff any chance I could get.
I thought that too,
so
but now I don't think I've even seen season 5. Like, do you even remember season 5 with all the bad animation and stuff?
Is season 5 the one where Wolverine and Captain America team up in the flashback episode? Because I remember seeing that one, but that's it.
I think so.
It's the only one that I think I remember. Yes, and I remember not being very good.
And that should be great.
I know.
So far, this series has been holding up real well for us, I think.
It's sad that we know there's a decline coming. It really does suck.
Maybe it'll surprise us. I don't know.
You know it won't. Let your bitter, angry fanboy out. You know he's angry. You know he's bitter.
Previously,
he's got rage.
X-Men.
It's time for Previously on X-Men.
Gambit warned me, but I didn't listen to him. Sorry. Beast?
Goodbye, my friend.
I was hoping you're actually going to play the Previously in X-Men one from this episode, because it was incredibly relevant to this episode, because they just showed the Mojo episode from the last season. Or was it 2 seasons? Yeah, 2 seasons ago.
Honestly, without that previously on episode, I would have been completely like, what is going on in the storyline? Because I admittedly am just dropping in. It's like, oh, hey, mid-season, sure, why not? I'll pop in for a quick review. It's been a minute. Now, that being said, it makes me very much want to like watch the rest of the series again, especially in, hype for the new that's coming out. Just looking over at Disney Plus, I've definitely seen some of the episodes of season 5. I don't know if I've seen all of them though, but there's a couple of like images from the stills in Disney Plus that I'm seeing that I'm like, yeah, I kind of remember these like plot points.
And I've come to find that I forgot even episodes I knew I saw. I've kind of forgotten. Like season 1, I had on VHS, so I watched a million times and I had it memorized basically. And season 2, like early on, there's a bit of that, but now it's just like things I feel like I've only seen once, so they're not really sticking in my brain as a kid, and it's been fun to rediscover them again.
I do know when I started watching this Longshot episode, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this one for sure. Like, I remember Longshot falling into the car and all that stuff. There's a couple things I noticed.
It was aired during season 5 too, so you probably have seen a lot or all of season 5.
So okay, yeah, that would make sense then, because like, yeah, I thought that episode was really early in the season. I was like, I'm watching this and I'm like, really? This is season 2?
Yeah, the order's all mixed up on the original airing. So if you actually watched it week to week as it was coming out, like weird things would happen. Like Jean would be alive, Jean would be dead inexplicably, and things like that. And it's nice that they finally fixed it, even if it doesn't match animation-wise. But Sam wants to know if we've seen the 1960s Batman show, and I can pretty much speak for all of us and say yes.
Yes, 100%.
I loved it as a kid. I have very fond memories of that.
I wouldn't call myself
my favorite iteration of Batman.
Really?
My favorite childhood memory.
The whole concept is cheesy and corny, so when they just own it, I enjoy it.
But everything in comics is cheesy and corny if you think about it.
I don't know.
My favorite childhood memory is watching the old Batman movie. Like the 60s Batman movie, after having like, it was either Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner with like my Aunt Paula and like all my family on the Scott side and stuff like that. Like I had to eat this dinner and then just like sitting in our living room, like on the floor, watching the crap out of this Batman movie because it was the most entertaining thing there.
Oh, that's the movie is hilarious. Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb, Robin.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's where he's on the helicopter, right?
Like, no, he's running. He's got the big bomb, and he's running with it. That famous thing. And then there's like, and he's running. And then there's like ducks over here, like baby ducks or something. And there's something else over there. No matter where he goes to throw it, he can't. The other one that I thought was hilarious, but that one is there's like he's like hanging. He's standing on the rope bridge or whatever. And is that the shark one? Is that was part of it too? There's a different part later where they're like. missiles coming at them, and then like it cuts to them later, like going away, and then he's like, Robin's like, that sure was lucky, Batman, and then he says something like, yes, but I feel bad for those poor dolphins, Robin. Like the dolphins hit by the torpedoes
is amazing.
Or chum now, chum.
Exactly, so good.
Hey Andre, do you get a synopsis for us?
Stuff happens, and some of it's good, some of it's bad, and everybody's happy at the end.
Well done, nice and concise.
Okay, so just
so no more elucidation required. I'm kidding. We will.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before we started, you'd mentioned there's 3 X points I have to make. Are these just like things I noticed in this show, or
that the episode made you think of, or basically anything? We go way off the board.
Anything really.
Okay.
I try to focus on things the episode made me think of, or I noticed, and if I don't have enough of them, then get crazier with my X points.
Yeah, it's at the end too. After we go through this part, so say them for later.
Cool. At the end of the show, there's at least
95 segments in which we talk about everything and anything, nothing related to X-Men in this episode.
Sometimes related to X-Men, but
never. It's a point. What? Never. Nothing related.
In my video game segment, I said people should play X-Men for Sega Genesis.
Dude, that fucking game was amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the best games ever made.
Seriously, one of the best games ever made, 100%, without a shadow of a doubt. And what is it? Is it?
That's the one where you have to reset the game to keep going, and they didn't tell you that, and you just eventually have to get mad and reset it, and it like takes you to the next level, and you're like, what? Yeah, it's a weird game.
Oh, weird. I think it's the Spring Garden Road Empire Theaters. At one point, they may still have it there. They probably have taken it out. But Park Lane? They have the X-Men arcade game. Yeah, the Park Lane one, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Park Lane movie theater.
That game's great, too. The X-Men arcade game. It's easy. Like, you can whip through it pretty good, but it's great. That's where Nes says, X-Men, welcome to die. Famously. Anyway, Andre, why don't you kick us off here? We've got our usual 15-minute tangents in the beginning.
All right. Well, as our episode opens, we find Wolverine teaching Jubilee how to drive in his Jeep. We see Wolverine sporting a nice brown coat with some kind of cowboy hat type thing, fedora, I guess, and a bolo tie, which I thought was interesting. It's a very bold choice for Wolverine.
Yeah.
He
likes the old school look. Yeah.
Well, it's very cowboy Texan.
I saw it.
Yeah. All right. Why don't you pull in over there?
We're done here.
I like when you get like Wolverine always seems like such an iconic character that when you see him just like saying normal human things, it seems strange. When he's like, all right, just pulling over there. You know what I mean? Like that just seems odd to me. It's usually everything's some kind of a joke or something, a threat. It's rare when there's like the incidental conversationalist stuff in between.
Or a joke threat.
Ooh, a jet, if you will.
A jet.
He drops those.
One time, I every once in a while, just to throw in ye old English, because I find it funny, I'll add the "if you will" into a conversation. And one time, I said it to someone, and they said, "I won't," and it made me laugh for about 5 minutes. I won't, if you will. It's like I won't. Oh, touche.
I will not, sir.
I will not, sir. I will not. Good day to you. And just he takes out a glove and hits me in the face with it. And I have to duel him at dawn. So then they're driving around. He goes in. He wants to go to a store, potentially to buy beer. It's unclear as to what he needs in the store.
Probably.
But as they arrive, he goes inside. Jubilee remains in the car, and then a portal opens conveniently just above her head, and someone who we quickly recognize as Longshot falls out into the car. Now,
hello, sweetheart. I don't believe we've been introduced.
I was about to say Jubilee has not met Longshot. She was not a part of the previous episode in which they went to Mojo World. But, of course, she is smitten with this young, how do we say?
Fella. Action hero, if you will.
What's the mulleted man that has fallen into? I'm going for the mulleted man.
Mulleted intergalactic superstar?
Yeah, and the way the animation styles vary in this episode, sometimes the front part of the mullet is really huge, and sometimes not so much. But when it's really huge, it looks hilarious. There's a couple of times. There's a couple times where it looks fucking hilarious.
It took me at least half the episode for the animation to not be distracting.
It was pretty rough in a few spots. There are glimmers of the old good animation, but not so much. And especially with the part I'm going to bring up in one of my points later, which you guys may also have. But it makes it glaringly more obvious. Anyway, so then the portal, Jubilee, is a bit taken with this young man who has appeared inside her car, and then another portal.
How young are we talking here exactly?
Yeah, I know.
Oh well, I can tell you.
Oh, yeah, Longshot is?
No, we don't like a kid. I'm 15, 17 years
No,
old.
No, I mean,
I got that. Yeah, how old is Longshot?
I asked the same question. I'm gonna guess like late 20s.
Longshot is like a created being, so like
he
could be like accelerated.
We don't know that in the context of this show.
Like a Superboy?
No. Yeah, like that could be the case.
So he's only 4, and it's even weirder. No, I'm just
kidding. Oh,
maybe he's 15 or 17.
It's like that movie Jack with Robin Williams, but with Longshot.
Oh God, that movie fucked with my brain. Oh.
Or perhaps some combination of the movie
movie
Big with that movie Jack, in which Jack has sex with somebody. I don't know. It's weird. But anyway, here we are.
Big is one of the best movies ever.
Okay, we got to pump the brakes. We're getting into Epstein territory.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Longshot may or may not be on the manifest for that island. We do not know. We can neither confirm nor deny. However, back to the story. Another portal appears in which Mojo's henchmen come out, and including Spiral, who we recognize as Mojo's lead enforcer of sorts. So Jubilee and Longshot get in a bit of a battle with them, which is ended as Wolverine appears. He hears the commotion outside, runs out, gets involved. The rest of them back off and go back to the portal.
Sorry, that's Jubilee's classic line. She says that a lot.
Yeah, I love the the most unconvincing. That's later when she says her age, right? It's not here.
Yeah, it's later.
It is later. Yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that, I guess. But anyway, so then we go back.
I will say,
is this the part where Wolverine chases after her and he's like, Jubilee?
Well, he says that like 5 times in this episode.
Yeah. No, that's a little later, I think, when they go back to the mansion. Jubilee. Although Mojo has a great Wolverine line, which I'm sure you may have.
I was gonna say Jubilee has one of my favorite lines of all time, and this line actually made me give it 1 extra point in the rating later.
Jubilee, Princess of Pyrotechnics, commands you to release the human.
Which is Jubilee just basically
channeling her storm.
Yeah, which is funny. That is a nice little nod to that she's been hanging out with the X-Men for a while now, so she's probably picking up or dropping a little shade on some of her compatriots.
Working on those one-liners.
That's right. Yeah. I knew you'd like. The second I heard her say that, I'm like, Davin's gonna like that line. I know he.
I do love that line.
Back on Mojo World, we see Spiral telling Mojo that Longshot has escaped after having told Mojo to get Longshot himself. Basically, he gets mad at her for failing in her mission. She tells him why doesn't he go get him herself. He grabs her and starts sucking the life force out of her, basically, which is something he apparently can do, which we've never seen him do before, but he does.
Yeah, that's just so there's so inexplicably just like, I'm picking you up and now you're draining. We better put some sparkles.
You don't even really know he was draining her because then he gets distracted by Major Domo, and then just when Domo's like, well, perhaps you should go catch her on your own, because and do you have any of his little things he says? Your bulbous one, or you're like,
oh yeah.
Yeah,
you got about 2 seconds to tell me what's going on, Blondie.
Not at all.
No, I have this one though. Wait, first, did we get to this part in the episode yet?
As if I don't have enough to worry about. Slave rebellions, workers who actually want to be paid, and my biggest star-turned rebel!
No, that's right in this part.
Okay.
Domo, I just had the most brilliant idea.
Yeah, the Domo just supplied him. Domo gives him this entire.
That's a recurring gag with these two. Is that Domo will mention some idea to him, and then he will take it out as his own and totally disregard the fact Domo suggested it.
His plan being to have Mojo join the episode. He's like, you and the X-Men will do this adventure.
But, most likely, it seems like Domo wants him out of the way, or at least not to be in his servitude anymore.
Oh, so definitely.
More likely have a way to hopefully lead towards his demise. However, guiding it under the idea that the ratings would be higher if he himself went to Earth. And
I believe this is what you're looking for, though.
When you are on screen, your bulbosity, the universe positively quivers.
Your bulbosity. He calls something else.
What's the name of this dump again?
Earth, your magnificent abundance.
Magnificent abundance.
Nascent abundance is a very nice way of putting that.
Domo has the largest vocabulary for the word large in the entire galaxy.
I do feel, though, that adding this weird power to Mojo to have him suck the life from things seems to just be a convenient addition to make his presence on Earth a bit more problematic, because they lean into that with him killing flowers and hurting the environment, which Beast talks about. We'll get to that a little later. So I think as though they may have just added this to make his presence on Earth like more of a threat than him just being there for ratings.
Yeah.
Ratings
seemed like that.
Action, excitement,
Not too much violence, though.
Yeah, we'll leave that for the news and the talk shows.
Yeah, some of that biting 1990s satire about violence in the media. Who knew what horrors awaited in the coming decades? I'm guaranteed if you threw a Fox News episode from that time period on then, and then watch it now, it would feel like it was a CNN episode for sure. The world has changed drastically. I mean, as far as pundits and media goes in the past couple decades. But you know,
mediocrity.
Yeah, that's true. But it's pretty funny, actually. There is some fun. There is some kind of ahead of the curve things with the Mojo stuff. I mean, anything that really deals with media and sensationalism and all that sort of stuff.
So many TV puns in this episode.
Oh God, yeah. It's funny too because there's an abundance of using the word canceled instead of being murdered. They'll say like cancel him, you're going to get canceled. I'll cancel you, which is funny using modern. Because like it's a modern verb now used to like when someone does something and they're not allowed to be a celebrity anymore or be in movies or on TV or make music or, you know, have a problematic attitude that people just will not purchase their things or deal with them being in any way. You know, they're called canceled.
But it still kind of works in the context of this show.
Kind of. Although I like it, the idea that perhaps Wolverine has some weird sex scandal and that's it's like you're canceled, Wolverine.
He's canceled.
You're 300 years old and you're sleeping with that 36.
Why are you teaching this 15-year-old to drive?
Why are you so determined to hang out with this 15-year-old?
Yeah.
Hey, we're not going there. It's a beautiful thing. He mentors young women. That's important.
That is true.
Sure, but he's very possessive over them.
He's protective.
Well, yeah.
Protective. As a father myself, I understand.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I would include Jean Grey in the mix there. But back to Mojo World. So yeah, we basically Major Domo suggests that he goes gets Longshot himself, and they make it part of this episode. Mojo passed it off as his own idea because he likes it. And he assembles a group essentially to go to Earth, travel to Earth, which is possible because apparently Spiral just makes portals to travel interdimensionally. So they were going to do so.
There's the cool outfit you mentioned earlier.
Yes, look at that. Look at that. Look, I call him Texan Wolverine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They used to dress him like that in the 80s. John Byrne loved to draw him like a Texan.
Yeah, I like him like that too, actually. I think Jim Lee did too when he was over in his skivvies. Usually,
how's that mullet?
That's like a one of those military haircuts with a mullet underneath. It's almost like he's wearing a wig on top of hair.
Yeah, it's super weird looking.
I do like the propensity of Mojo to be drinking what appears to be Pepto-Bismol all the time. It just sort of adds to the level of grossness that he's just always eating and just always has heartburn because he's so fat.
Indigestion. Yes, he's pretty funny.
So we get back to Earth where Jubilee and Longshot are just before this actually they took Longshot to Professor X to make sure he was okay. Wolverine, that's the line you had where he says, "Who's our guest?" In which they say Wolverine wants Professor X to scan Longshot's mind and make sure that he's okay. He's not there as some kind of a trick or working for Mojo still. But Professor X says it needs to be Longshot's choice in order to have his mind scanned. Jubilee and Longshot go for a walk in the woods. Well, I guess he's deciding to allow this to happen. I'm not sure why he would be so unclear about it. He doesn't remember anything. I guess we didn't mention that. He doesn't remember. Yeah, we didn't mention that. He doesn't remember how he got to Earth or why he got there. Or anything about before that really. Basically. Yeah. So we'll come to find out why in a little bit. But anyway, as they're walking through the woods, there's an oddly placed massive scarecrow in the center of the path, which this is a really odd thing because they're like, what's that? And they walk up to it, and then it's Mojo in disguise who pops out and basically attempts to capture them. Or rather, grabs them. Well, so I think
it was a pretty foolish scene.
Because Longshot, Did they just grab Jubilee? They get Longshot too. I was looking at my notes here.
They chased them down. They just grabbed Jubilee, and then it became Wolverine and Longshot, the unwitting pairing duo that had to go save her.
Before that point, though, but at this point, do they try to grab them and then they get away? Because they have to go back to the X Mansion to have his mind.
Yeah. So they were chased down in the alleyway. Then Wolverines comes in and he gives them the old slappity slap.
That was in
and Longshot.
Previous
encounter, I think no.
This is in the woods.
Might have been. Oh, this one's in the woods. No, I'm fairly certain it's the woods that she gets caught. Because she's running away and she like wanders off into the woods and then she bumps into Scarecrow Mojo.
Right, and that's her by herself later. Yeah. So okay, yeah.
That's after.
Mojo jumps some. Mojo jumps.
This actually, I will. This is a good time to jump in with this. I found this episode really hard to follow. Like we're having that trouble right now. It doesn't flow. Like usually the
jumps
episodes
around
of the show really
lot.
flow, and this one's just. The plot's kind of obscure and sometimes non-existent, and it's just a hard episode.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what it is right now. I'm going to throw on it right this very instant. Hopefully,
you're throwing on the episode.
I actually am. I'm just going to go back to the previous one because I'm already queued up for the next one. Man, Disney Plus is kind of hard to just like watch.
Find the episode.
The next episode. Like I just want
to go back.
Netflix is the only one with a good interface. Like the rest of them have to be an interface that's different than Netflix, so they just make it worse.
Because if I pick X-Men the animated series and then I start watching the episode, it just plays it. So I need to literally search it, which Disney Plus give us some money and also fix your algorithm.
Stuff.
Yeah, get in here.
IRS, we'll do a little show on Disney Plus.
A little show.
I mean, their stuff. They bought it. That's they bought it.
But they own it now.
But they bought
it. Fair.
They did.
They acquired a property.
All right.
Mojo's genetically engineered slaves rebelled. I, his star attraction, was their leader.
Yes. So we're just okay. Here we go. I'm on it. All right. So.
Thanks for sticking with us, everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot of this where we're not sure what's like. So they go in the woods. Mojo attacks them. Yeah, they get away. That's what happens because no. Okay, so they're just walking in the woods, having a tender moment between each other, and that's when Mojo shows up, basically with the rest of them. During the walk, they decide to go back to the mansion and have his mind read, in which they discover that he decided to leave Mojo's employ and join the rebellion in his own world. Which seems like a real big character shift for him, being that in the previous episode, he was upset that he wasn't a star and wanted to go back to Mojo and be a star again. So somewhere in between there, he became heroic and decided he needed to,
I'll talk about that later in
but we can only comment on the show. Segment. Like we can't talk about comic stuff that's unrelated to this. We're only experiencing.
Well, I can later. We have a segment for that.
But that's not going to fill in any plot holes in this. Because
no, this episode's tough.
You do notice as Mojo walks around, the flowers and plant life around him die, so it seems to be an extension of his life-sucking ability that we've seen on display earlier. But while
I'm with you there, that's something kind of over-enhanced or new.
Yes. So basically, they do the mind thing on him. Jubilee is upset that everyone's treating like a child. Basically, was the one reason she's always upset about everything all the time. And she storms off into the woods, finds the scarecrow that looks very large for some reasons in the middle of her path. Turns out to be Mojo in disguise, and they capture her essentially. So they learn the truth about
can we just say that's the shittiest plot point?
Why bother dressing up as the scarecrow?
Exactly. He just knows where the fuck she's gonna run into.
He has an army of people with them. Just grab her. Why dress the scarecrow? Like it makes no sense.
Spiral
for the show. I'm gonna put on a scarecrow outfit.
If the cameras are rolling, it all makes sense.
I mean, he could have done a billion things that would have been far more sensible.
Television day.
So yeah, they get a notice that there's something going on. There's doings are transpiring. They go looking for Jubilee, find all the destruction caused by Mojo. Beast makes a comment. They doesn't think their world may survive if Mojo stays in this plane of existence much longer, which seems dumb, but also a plot point. Wolverine says he found something and then produces a giant yellow coat, which no one seems to have noticed until he said, I found something, when it was in his hand the whole time. Like, it's a massive coat. You can't just be like holding it and then have a conversation with someone for a while and suddenly go, look what I found, and pull out this giant coat, when like they would have seen it this whole time.
Wolverine, why are you holding this massive coat?
I'll only bring it up when it's important for the plot,
I smell it,
or for dramatic purposes.
How did you guys see?
Guys, I found this coat. It's in my hand the whole time. Did anybody notice this?
Also,
Logan, I think you're drinking too much.
Inexplicably, Longshot looks at it and scans it with his glowing eye and then says he can't see her future, which also is another strange power that we didn't know Longshot has. They do refer to him being the lucky one and being very lucky. They call him the lucky one several times and make jokes about his luck running out. But we've never once heard that his powers are luck-based, only in that way. And this one seems odd that for some reason he can use his eye to scan people's futures, which seems like a super useful thing that he's never done until this very moment.
Is technically isn't that supposed to be Longshot's ability, the ability to see like shit that's about to happen, and that's what makes him lucky? Like he's I can see that this is about to happen, so I'm gonna get the fuck out of the way of it, sort of deal.
I mean, I guess I could see it being an extension to that, but I've never known his power to quite work like that. He just has luck like Domino, where it's just,
or Black Cat, like things just work out for him.
Yeah.
Or Black Cat's the opposite. It's bad luck for everybody else.
Yeah.
Not necessarily good luck for her, but bad luck for those around her.
Yeah.
So that makes me beg the question: if Longshot and Domino were to have a fight, who would win?
I'm sure that's probably happened before.
I wonder.
So the X-Men that went to investigate what happened, which at this point are Wolverine, Longshot, and Rogue and Beast, are going off to go find Mojo through the woods.
Rogue, whose lips no man may kiss.
With a little ahead of me, but yes, that is his introduction. Wolverine has the bed. Do you have his introduction for Wolverine, which is one of my favorite introductions for Wolverine?
No, just the whole thing.
He says, the man with Adam.
From Terror World, it's the premiere and final edition of Intergalactic Gladiators!
Which is good. Early on, when they get there, he asks what the name of this planet is, and someone says Earth, to which he responds, it's a dumb name. Like it's calling it dirt, basically. Which apparently in Mojo World speech, they still have words like Earth to describe the dirt. But anyway, he says something along the lines of, that's no good. Let's call it, Danger World first, he says. And then he says, no, Terror World or Terror
World.
Yeah, he hands up on Terror World.
Yeah.
Like it's a Tarantino film.
Yeah.
Sounds
Robert Rodriguez actually played a terror, but yeah, Tarantino was involved. So, but yeah, Haunted Forest. He goes through. They see a sign towards the Haunted Forest Mutant Castle, 1 mile. So as they're walking, they still have another mile to walk. And then it says, "I'd turn back if I were you." Wolverine conveniently slashed it in half with his claws while still carrying Jubilee's quote and getting rather upset about everything going on. Basically, as we continue on, he gets mad at Longshot, blaming him for all of this. Rogue gets involved, tells them that they got to calm down, all that sort of stuff. Man, the animation in this episode is rough sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just there's a few scenes of Beast standing there that if you look at it too long, it just breaks your brain. Like his legs are tiny compared to how big his shoulders and chest are. So we get that intergalactic gladiator introduction, as we just saw, where Mojo has like an airship basically, where he's calling for the action for a show, introducing each of the X-Men. He has something about how smart Beast is. He says something about Rogue. One of my favorite bits is he said adamantium, Wolverine, the man with adamantium bones, but they still can't protect him from a broken heart, which I always thought was
that was probably my favorite line.
Which I thought was really good because his heart's broken all the time, usually because of Jean Grey.
I should have grabbed that one.
All this chaos, all this destruction, and not a single camera in sight.
The interesting thing about that line and that part is he's watching the destruction through a video screen. So somebody's recording it because it's on his video screen.
I thought he was just referencing the destruction in his immediate vicinity. I didn't actually recognize him watching any screen when he said that line, because it seemed like it was just happening around him.
Yeah, that's
was there one in front of him? Because I thought he was outside.
No, he was in the airship watching it from his little base of operations, which I thought was funny. But you know, we get all those introductions, which is fun. They basically has little guys on airships that are trying to attack them. The grand prize, if they can defeat his army, will be Jubilee back, of course. Then he sends out all these robots that press buttons and turn into more impressive looking monsters. They all kind of have spiral headgear on, which is kind of interesting with the little kind of Galactus prongs off to the side.
They were like Goro meets Spiral.
Kind of, yeah. Well, Spiral has 6 arms too, right? So
yeah.
And the guy that hangs out, that's Mojo's other sort of enforcer, the red guy with the mohawk and the beard. He's got a cool design. I don't know. Does he have a name? Yeah. Is he a relevant character, or is he only made for this?
I think he does, but
there's a Gog and a Quark credited in this episode, so he's probably one of them.
Oh, but, yeah, I think he's Gog.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically they have a time limit to fight everybody. The Jubilee Rogue tries to fly away, but they shoot her down, saying that airspace is or like some kind of line from a TV show, like air travel is only provided by Mojo and nothing else. Mojo Studios, whatever. So during the fight, Wolverine, they come up with an idea that if the rest of them can distract the attackers, they can Wolverine can go get the kid, basically. So Beast suggests that Longshot go with him because of his good luck powers and whatnot, which also something that's new and interesting. So the two of them run ahead, and man, this animation is killing me. So Beast and Rogue distract them and run ahead and go into a place called Camp Crustaceous. I'll leave with you as you will as to what that may be parodying. To which the soldiers run after them, leaving.
Hail to the Camp Krusty.
That's fun. And we get there is interesting animation of watching Beast bound around, which you don't see a lot, like run by bounding. They encounter a giant dinosaur and then a bunch of smaller raptors. There's a joke made, which I'll bring up later about this, that you two may have picked up. If you haven't, you'll be pleasantly surprised because it's actually pretty funny. So the giant dinosaur attacks. It's a Tyrannosaurus Rex, essentially. Rogue hits it with a tree. It was attacked by smaller dinosaurs, almost raptor-like, I guess. Then as they run off to a cliff, which kind of gives them some higher bullet vantage point to be less attacked by. We cut back to Wolverine and Longshot, who are running, and then they're attacked by Quark. I think this is Quark, who seems to be an established character that I'm unfamiliar with, that looks like a goat with an eye patch, who was there to capture Longshot. Longshot's he basically dispatches Wolverine pretty quickly, which is kind of cool. He like stomps on him with his goat feet. And then
Wolverine's one weakness, goat feet.
Goat feet. Longshot.
Wolverine's one weakness is getting run into by something. Anything big and heavy is going to hit him once. He's going to bounce off the wall, and he's.
Adamantium skull concussion.
In the first season, he was almost dead a lot, considering his powers are healing. But anyway, Longshot goes Quark into a one-on-one
fight. He says he healed fast.
Yes, in this episode, but in the past, he healed a lot slower. So Longshot goes into a one-on-one fight.
Yeah, we joked about that in season 1 where he gets like clawed by Sabretooth and he's in a hospital bed for like days.
Like a days, yeah, I know. Quark pulls out what looks like some kind of a Cleon knife and tries to attack Longshot, who easily sidesteps him, sweeps his legs out, and then goads him into charging him, to which he moves out of the way and he charges right into a tree. Knocks himself out. Wolverine's back up. Mentions he heals fast. They move on to their next spot, which essentially is, let's see here, getting into a fight with Spiral.
Outside the Dragon Ball Z capsule buildings.
Yes,
what got her so worked up? We used to date,
which is a fun little note.
I remember that line from watching that show as a kid. I remember specifically him being all like, "Oh, we used to date." Yeah.
Which is funny.
They walk off together at the end of the last episode.
That is true.
With Mojo, yeah.
Apparently, it didn't work well. I always say that a sequel is the enemy of happiness. If you do one movie at the end, the guy gets the girl, the bad guy's defeated. It's great. Everything's good. They have to do a sequel because it does well. Well, it didn't work out with him and the girl. Usually the girl's in the episode, but they're fighting. They're not happy anymore. And either the bad guy's back or some son of the bad guy's back. Your buddy dies. It gets terrible. Usually you might end back up with the girl by the end of the second episode. Everything seems okay. But then if they do a third one, there's no mention of the girl anymore. She's just gone. It didn't work out this time. Now she's gone.
There's a new girl from another country.
That's right. And and if you're Thor, she'll be back in the fourth one and then have your job. But for this point of this one,
and my look,
yeah, basically.
My look.
And my hammer,
So Beast and Rogue are hiding out on the side of a cliff, being attacked out of the dinosaur's reach. Other soldiers catch up to them with laser beams, try to shoot them down. Rogue flies off. For a guy with good luck powers, Longshot, while being attacked, so then it cuts back to Wolverine and Longshot are trying to get into the castle. They're getting a fight with Spiral. For a guy with good luck powers, he has some pretty bad luck in this fight. He goes to fight Spiral. He does a backflip, lands in water, and slips and falls on his back. Basically, is about to be killed by her, but Wolverine intervenes and uses his claws to stop it. Says he'll take care of her. Basically, they get in a pretty epic little fight because they're pretty evenly matched. Longshot runs off on his own. Starts getting whipped by Gog, as we decide his name is. Beast comes in, gives him the old cannonball shot in the back. They get in a bit of a tussle. Rogue busts through the door, rescues Jubilee from various soldiers that were attacking her while she was captured.
Thanks.
There's another robot that kind of looks like Rogue. It can copy appearances. Rogue dispatched it pretty quickly. In what is always the funniest and stupidest thing ever, Mojo has like a controller. At one point, Longshot's trying to open the door, and Mojo's like looking for this, and he's holding the controller. And then Longshot later, when there's a distraction, throws the sword or knife through the controller that basically makes every single robot deactivate. That one controller controlled everything. And he was just holding it unguarded in his hand.
Well, nobody likes having all these different controllers. That used to be the thing back in the day. You had your TV controller, and then your VCR controller, and then your stereo control. It was ridiculous.
That's right. And you had your own rewinder.
Same problems on Mojo World.
So Jubilee comes through the destruction. She's caught by Longshot. She has a kind of My Hero moment where she snuggles up to him. Mojo's ratings are dropping because they're losing. Yes, he's like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Better now." The X-Men are easily dispatching Mojo's people, which is always funny when a villain brings an army, but not quite enough of an army to deal with the heroes, so they still manage to defeat the army. There's only like 5 people here, and there's a mountain of Mojo people, but still not quite enough. So Mojo's getting ready to kill Longshot, basically using the beams on his thing, on his little thing that moves him around, tail beams. Jubilee used her powers to fuck up his machinery, which is the first time that's ever been useful to her. Which makes his the thing that moves him around, the spider legs with the tail, go to whack. Longshot essentially is ready to murder him with the sword that just happens to fall in his hands. He has some nice aerobatics here. He does a lot of like flips and stuff. He goes to kill Mojo. Mojo calls for Spiral to get him out of there. She portals him away, and the rest of his people as well.
I want a rematch, mutant. Pay-per-view, of course. 50% of all intergalactic merchandise and syndication revenue.
Syndication revenue. That was big back in the day.
50% of all merchandise is a lot. That's where a lot of your money comes from.
Yeah, that's where the real money's from. Yeah,
she's a good negotiator. Yeah.
So she goes through the portal. She does a cool little ballerina spin to start and make this portal, which is kind of neat. But then in a very very convenient way, the portal stays open, to which Wolverine inherently knows for some reason that Longshot has a few minutes to say goodbye before the portal closes. How Wolverine knows this, I do not know. He's apparently some kind of an expert on portals. So they do make mention earlier, and Wolverine's annoyed with Jubilee, that Rogue says to him, "Be careful, the girl's sweet on him." And Wolverine says he knows. So he noticed or whatever. She says, I don't know if you noticed, but the girl's sweet on him. And he's like,
in such a jealous and jaded way. I know. It's like
I kind of felt like it was more of a dad that doesn't like the guy that his daughter's going out with. It's kind of the vibe I was getting more with it. But
I don't want anyone dating Jubilee for at least 3 or 4 more years.
She's mine until she's legal.
Yeah, see,
yeah.
that's the kind of like tone behind it that I was like, you know.
I really do think it's meant to be brotherly or fatherly.
I do too.
I mean, they definitely want to portray it as fatherly, but you know,
man, this animation.
There's a lot behind subcontext and how one voices something. If he had a little less anger in his voice,
that's the Wolverine
and a little
thing,
more just like, well, no, I mean, he can be Wolverine, but like Wolverine can have more of a begrudging, like sighing, like, yeah, I know, like something like that, as opposed to the way it was delivered. Just the way it was delivered was a little aggressive, a little too aggressive, considering who it was. You know, it's
Wolverine's
like he's not being
turned up to
pricked,
11
he's
on
being,
this show.
yeah, clearly.
I've been grooming this girl for 2 years. I only got 3 more to go.
All right, we're moving on. You guys are getting off track here.
Back off, Longshot.
Murphy, you're never coming back on the show.
Ban for life. Our first banning for life. So anyway,
Epstein talked like 3 times.
Portal.
It's like, what's going on here?
He says goodbye to Jubilee. They share a kiss, to which Jubilee sheds a tear, and then he goes through the portal.
I was peering that. I'm like, this dude, how, like, we just established that she's 15, and he's like leaning in, and he gives her like the peck on the forehead.
She even
for sure.
No, he straight up kissed her. It's a legit mouth to mouth kiss. So
like, okay, see, that's the thing. I think it was animated like that, but ultimately they swerved it to he kisses her on the forehead. I don't think he actually kisses her on the forehead. At least the version I watched on Disney Plus.
That's the one.
Yeah,
I
he kisses her on the forehead.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at it one more time. No, you're 100%
a
right. He does
kiss.
kiss her on the forehead, then a tear comes in her. Yeah. So
that's
actually
get your head out of the gutter, Andre. God, the both of
you. Could be like 18. I don't know.
I'm sorry, everybody. I'll try to rein these two in a little better.
Yeah. Sorry for using our minds here. But anyway, that's the end of the episode. They all
pointing out the glaring problems of this episode.
The portal.
We'll get to that here
in
a second.
Come on, kid. Let's head home.
I like that last piano. Anyway, I love it. So that brings us to the namesake of the podcast.
Each of us will have to look into his own heart and decide.
All right. Well, why don't you look into your own heart and decide first there, Murphy, as our guest. So there are ratings from 1 to X. X, of course, being 10. You first.
Ooh, I mean, so many episodes to compare it to, but to be fair, I can't quite remember them. So, I mean, out of just like pure and solid only, I'm going to give it like a cold 2. Like an Iceman cold 2 at best. Yeah, it was not a great episode. It was full of cheap exposition and cheaper animation, and it was just a pretty like flat episode. I wasn't the biggest fan, obviously. I can't see a lot of people would be. I think it's just there's some choices in the episode that was like, what are they trying? It doesn't feel like they're trying here. So yeah, cold 2.
Cold 2.
Wow,
like the segue, you call it an Iceman cold 2, and Iceman.
It's very. I don't think any of our episodes, any of our ratings have gone below 5 on this series so far.
No, I don't think they have. Back to you, Andre.
No, I want to hear yours first.
All right, mine is so. Like I said, that Jubilee line and the fact that Mojo is my favorite villain, and he's in the episode, and he has some good Mojo stuff. I gave it a 5. That's my lowest so far. I haven't gone below 6 or 7. Yeah, I love Mojo. Favorite.
Really? Really? Out of the entire fucking catalog, your favorite is Mojo?
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't show up a lot, so I just really appreciate when he does. Now, do I want to see more Mojo than other villains? No. Like, there's more ongoing interest with like a Magneto or a Mr. Sinister or even an Apocalypse. But for him to just, when he's there, I smile. He's a funny guy, and I like the whole gag of him just being this like sort of like.
So he's not your favorite, but he's one of your favorites, just purely on the humor sense. Then,
Well,
that's fair to say.
But I love his design and everything too. Like I love the design.
I mean, I feel like I've seen him drawn better for sure. Like this was a really rough design in my opinion.
Well, David Cutler has said on the show that he thinks Mojo is probably like the hardest character to draw.
To animate him, he said to animate.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I think he said to draw. Well, you can correct us, David. All right, to you, Andre. We had a cold 2 and a lukewarm 5. Luke.
Yeah, I was leaning towards a 4 or 5 for sure. I want to give it a 4. It's not that exciting. I like Mojo. I like Mojo World. They didn't really do anything with Mojo World. He just got on an airship and went to our world, destroyed some plants, and then went home. I feel like they could have expanded on this a lot more in a lot more interesting way to bring Mojo back. But this just seemed like a real fill. Like they literally, we need to make an episode here. Let's just throw Mojo and Longshot in it because we haven't seen them in a while. And there's a lot of just because, and I really hate just because.
A lot of that.
I agree, and that's why I'm like this entire episode sliding in with a cold 2. Like it's just not.
No, it deserves to be the lowest rated one yet. I would say it's not great.
But if you think about the greater scheme of the whole show, like what really happened to propel any of the actual story?
Nothing.
Well,
it's literally a filler episode.
Maybe I'll talk about that here in our next segment.
You'll shut your mouth.
Just shut your mouth if you knew what was good for you, buddy.
Give me a taste the back of your hand.
All right. Uncanny X points. I'll go first to pick up what Murphy was just saying there. So, well, and the whole thing around this episode. So they got the script, or they wrote this for season 3, where it's now placed, and then they sent it away to get drawn, and they got it back, and it was so bad, they just said, we can't sneak this in here, or we'll just do it later, and just fit it in where we can. And so, I mean, I guess it took them like another whole almost 2 seasons to get one back. That's the good one, and that's the one we got. And the good one's not so great, obviously. But it makes you wonder, with all that time in between and all this stuff going on, how much disconnect there was between the script and the art. Because that's what you get the whole time watching this episode. It's like it's disconnected from itself. And who knows if it had to do with these long time frames in its creation. I don't know.
I'm sure it did, but like even between long time frames and whatnot, I think there just needed to be some editorial ball dropping. Like basically that somebody just needed to be like, yeah, you know what, this is too shit, and just take it out of the catalog entirely. Like this entire show, if this one particular episode did not exist within the season or any of the series, it would not affect any of the series. It literally, they could have just been like, yeah, no, screw it. Like I think they just did it so they could fill the number. Exactly.
But they had to include it for that Sweet Jubilee line alone. So you had to find a place for this somewhere.
Yeah,
where do you put that line in another episode?
Let's do a whole episode for one line. That's worth it. That'll make it.
Yeah, it was like that line and the adamantium line, Wolverine having breaking hearts. Like those are the 2 best lines, and that's why I gave this episode 2 points.
2 for 2 lines, a point a line.
2 lines, 1 point per line. Yeah, that's fair. That's really fair.
I like it. All right, Andre, your point.
Oh shit! I get to tell points now.
Oh yeah.
Did you pick up anything when the dinosaur attacked him?
No, I don't think I did.
So I did. Yeah, did you? He says what's this? A giant purple dinosaur, and then it cuts to Mojo and he goes, the kids will love it. And a very direct reference to Barney, who was a very popular children's entertainer at the time.
Reference.
If you'll notice, his claws are even green, which is kind of funny. So like even because Barney had the little green things. So it literally was animated. I was going to make a note that it kind of reminded me of Devil Dinosaur until I heard that line, and then it was because it was dark wine colored, but it was purple. So yeah, it was very much a Barney reference that was kind of slid into that episode, which I thought was funny.
To you, Murphy.
To me, so I mean, I noticed a few things about this episode, so I don't know if I can just list off a couple or if it's just one.
One point at a time. Pick one.
You can throw a bunch
one
at the end
point at a time.
Yeah, 1 point
All right,
at a
fair
time.
enough. The first thing that I definitely noticed about this whole series, or this whole episode, I should say, is apparently everybody from Mojo Planet is from the Simpson universe because they only had 3 fingers. Yeah. Every single one of them, and I'm just like, okay, what's up with that? I don't know if that's like
I never noticed that. That's interesting.
or not. Yeah, no, literally it is okay. So yeah, I noticed that about the episode. I was like, why do they all have 3 fingers? Like every person from this dimension. So I just came to the conclusion that they're from the Simpsons dimension.
Well, I like that too. All right, back to me. The new intro. Did you guys? Because it has the season 5 intro.
My next point. This is gonna be my next point. It had a different intro. That's
was that a new intro?
Yeah,
there's something that was like I'm watching
new
this
music
and I'm like,
and new animation.
Yeah,
like
I thought the music didn't sound right.
They do add more action and cool shots, so they actually.
And the music picks up pretty into the fast part of it. It doesn't linger as long as the old one did on the opening part.
It's a bit more like sustained and stuff too.
This one kind of cuts right into the banana.
Yeah, but I thought it sounded almost like not that well recorded, but yeah, no, it needs the like it without
cool, though.
The 3-step drop. Like
we get a lot of pictures of future people in the new intro. It's a lot of Cable and Bishop, and
it's probably because this was season 5.
Yeah, I'm guessing they were in that season more.
Yeah,
but was the Phalanx not till season 5? Because at the end of this episode, we got
okay, that was going to be one of my points.
We got an intro. Well, yeah, we got an intro to the next episode, which seemed not to be that episode.
I got a piece of that.
Now, Self-Friends Beast, Forge, your world is doomed.
You hear the difference in the music there.
The music seems like they're using more. It's less techno-y and more like
rock.
actual instruments. It seems like an actual violin and some other stuff in there. So,
I got a question. At what point did they stop doing the little like X-Men profiles at the end of the episode?
Oh, like that was only a few things in season 1.
That was just in season 1, and
like
maybe
the first
a couple
2 or 3
episodes of season 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, they dropped it out and brought it back a few times in the first season and a little bit of the second season. But
so at the end of the episode,
I used to love those.
That little thing at the end of the episode was for season 5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I was like,
because the way the episodes are aligned now, season 5 starts with the 2-part Phalanx.
But then I'm like, because they show it, and I'm like, what the hell? Because it's like the Phalanx is there with Beast and
Forge
and Sinister's hanging out with him in the background. I'm like, what's going on?
And we haven't met young Forge yet.
No,
we've only met old Forge from the future.
We have the one that can repeatedly just Groundhog Days Bishop and sends him back to the past. They never.
So reordering, it's kind of funny how reordering the episodes got rid of all those weird disconnects and things, but then created a couple new ones through these.
Well, I mean, they could have just taken that out of the credits, but
I'm surprised they didn't. But
yeah, maybe they're trying to preserve some.
Yeah,
whatever.
Right, back to you, Murphy.
It's actually back to me. I think.
I thought that was your thing, the Warlock ending.
Oh, let's go with that then. Sure. Yeah, that's me. That's my point. Let's go with that.
Right. Back to you, Murphy.
The Warlock ending. I guess the other point is Spiral is clearly the most powerful character in the episode.
Oh, yeah.
Like she literally, like with her Sailor Moon spin dance, she was able to completely vanish like several large buildings and an entire army. Like that takes a lot of power. Like in between that, she decides to fight Wolverine with a sword with 2 of her 6 hands.
Why not just Sailor Moon all the X-Men into another dimension and leave them there, like into a volcano or hell or
exactly.
You guys keep forgetting that this is all about the ratings. The ratings. Sword fights against Wolverine are good for the ratings.
That actually does.
I mean,
sense.
that was by far the shittiest sword fight with Wolverine in the entire history of Wolverine sword fights. If you go back and watch that sword fight, she just does this one like 3 times, and he's like, gah, gah, or he might be doing a bit of this. I don't know how he was defending it. The animation was terrible, but I remember her just doing this, and then it was like a background animation at best. It wasn't even anything like crazy. Like, it could have been better. It could have been better.
Yeah. Been cool. All right. Back to me. I was going to save this for the 10th point, but I'll use it now because it picks up what you were talking about there, Murphy. Longshot. Well, see, I have a few points here. All right. Anyway, I'm going to double up on my points here 1 second. I just want to show you guys this image again.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
Oh, how convenient.
Look at this. Yeah, well, look, we all know who's calling the shots here, fellas. Okay.
Looks like the days of
these are the Werewolves. I just wanted to mention them quickly. They used to show in Excalibur comics a lot. They're created by Mojo, but they're pretty cool. The Werewolves.
Yeah, they're like T1000s. They keep getting
I thought that too,
and then coming back. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, they do so much like 90s referential stuff, like Jurassic Park, obviously in this very episode.
Yes. Camp Cretaceous.
Camp
Terrier 1000s.
Yeah. So that's not really my point. I just wanted to point out the Werewolves because I forgot to earlier, and they're cool. But my point here is, like Murphy was saying, the animation is really bad and it's distracting, and we were all saying that. So I have to listen to this episode back without the video to do my sound clips. In this episode, another reason I gave it a 5 is it actually is better if you don't look at it. So, like, as a radio theater, this episode is a solid 5 because, like, some of the jokes are on point and stuff, but none of it all matches. But yeah, it wasn't bad listening to it back. I was like, geez, am I going to bump this up to a 6? And I was like, no, the animation
does not deserve 6. No, certainly does not. I have 2 small points, and then my main point because this is my last one.
All right. Yeah.
So one being their subtle costume changes. If you notice, Jubilee has a strip that goes down with a pink strip on her shirt that says X here. That goes down. That was never there before in her coat. You've seen it flash a few times when the coat moves aside, and then when she lost the coat when Wolverine was carrying it around, you see it rather front and center, especially at the end there. But
there's also the scene where they enter the room with Rogues in, and the camera basically goes straight to her boob.
Yeah, and just shows
it just like zoomed in, and it's
yeah. So I thought that was interesting. Number 2, since this is back in its proper placement, you could surmise this episode takes place at the same time as Scott's sojourn by himself, and no mutant is an island because he's not there. So this could have been happening while he was off doing that adventure as well. Which would make sense, if you're trying to make place in the show.
That's where it was supposed to be, so that makes a lot of sense.
We've discussed this topic. This is my major point. We discussed this topic before with the Leewalds and some others. But there, and if you have that book, which Davin has behind him, I'll point behind Davin. But yeah. Mine's in my library, but it is there. They often talk about issues that they have with the show. And the writer of this episode, Stephen Melching, actually released a bunch of notes he received from censorship when they first did this episode. I'm just going to read some of these for you to just show how arbitrary and weird censorship of this cartoon was at this time period. So these are all the notes. I'm going to omit a few that I don't understand. Number 1, it will not be acceptable for Mojo to call anyone numbnuts. Apparently, at one point, he called someone numbnuts. They had changed it.
I haven't heard the term numbnuts in fucking 20 years. That's fantastic.
Also, he should not pick Spiral up by the head. Apparently, when he drained her forces, he picked her up by the head.
Yeah, that makes it through in the episode.
Does it? Does it?
I thought he's picking her up by the arms. Yeah, he's picking her up by the arms.
Well, this was way more brutal, this episode.
Either show that the hunters' rogue berries are robots, or do not bury them past their necks. So that's something that happens during the fight early on when she's throwing them in the dirt or whatever. Please substitute for Longshot's 2 uses of the word killed with something like destroyed or take their lives would be more acceptable.
Probably were
canceled.
Take their lives sounds...
Which is actually better. I like canceled better in this context.
Their canceled's a good term.
Please delete or substitute Spiral calling Longshot lover, since we would not want to give their encounter sexual overtones.
Even though at the end of the episode, they're like, we used to be...
We used to fuck.
She used to give me 3 hand jobs at once. It was the best.
Best. My 3 dicks. Long
3
shot
fingers,
should not...
3 dicks.
You don't want to ask who the other 3 hands were. Longshot should not appear wounded or bloodied. It will not be acceptable for a wolf to slash Wolverine in the back. I'm guessing these are the werewolves. Nor for Wolverine's claws to connect with any of the wolves. So that's why I was wondering why he didn't slash any of them. His claws were out, but he was pushed them aside, knocked them into walls and stuff.
Yeah.
They only let him hit swords and robots, generally.
It would not be acceptable
even though the werewolves are technically robots, but sure.
Yeah.
It would not be acceptable for Jubilee to blast Jan in the face. Please revise. Please substitute the boulder rogue curls at the 2 hunters, since that would injure them severely. I believe they're robots, which I think is funny. Please incapacitate them with something less harmful. So I believe the
spiderwebs, please.
Yeah, I believe the rock hits when they move out of the way, which we see. Please delete or substitute Rogue's use of the term scale butt. Something like scale face would be acceptable.
What's wrong with scale butt? It's even worse having scales on your face.
What if a spiderweb had blasted Jubilee in the face? I'm sure nobody would have any problem with that.
It's like the Oozinator from the 90s. Caution that slag not backhand Wolverine in the face. Caution that no one is hurt by the Raptors. Please show that the bounty hunters are alive after the facade falls on them. And
that's so much, though. There's so much.
And please keep the kiss between Longshot and Jubilee brief. That's the last note.
Is this just the thing with Mojo episodes or something? Because a future guest on the show, Brooks Wachtel, mentioned he didn't want to come on our show after the last Mojo episode because they completely rewrote it all on him. So there seems to be something with Mojo episodes and rewrites.
Well, I think they want to rewrite it because they're basically like, par on par jabs with like the TV industry at the time, like they're just like, well, we're making fun of the TV industry with this character, and the TV industry is like, we're gonna neuter your story so much it won't look good, it won't sound good, and nobody's gonna want to watch it. And that because like all those points that you made about them, censoring, like those would have been pretty cool plot points. It would have been cool, like if Wolverine had slashed at the wolves with his claws, that would have been cool. I might have given the show some more points for it. Like there's certain like interactions that should have happened, but purely because of censorship, they don't. So they just
Numbnuts would have got you another point.
Dude, Numbnuts would have gotten like 3 more points.
Yeah.
Like you've like there's so many like.
I'm not 100% convinced about them trying to punish them for making fun of the TV in general.
I like the theory.
I mean,
but number one,
TV's
okay with you making fun of TV as long as it makes money. They don't care. I mean, they put out a movie like Network in the 70s, which makes fun of TV and movies and sensationalism and all this stuff. That's like a cult classic to this day. But as long as it makes money,
30 Rock.
Yeah, same thing. As long as money's to be made, they don't care. It's the almighty dollar or whatever. They don't care. But I agree with what you're saying. It does. It just. I think it just more illustrates how strange and dogmatic they were about how arbitrary these rules are. Because they probably had a book of what can and can't be shown in kids programming at Fox, and this is all these things probably were against it.
The kill thing.
Meanwhile, Daddy Mickey's like, take it all off. Go for it, kids.
Yeah.
Well, X-Men 97. We'll see if they still say kill or if they say kill.
I hope the first line in the show is numbnuts.
Me
Welcome
too.
back to the X-Men, numbnuts.
Because it'll feel like the 90s, and it'll put us right back in 1997.
Oh, man, I hope they keep using all 90s vernacular.
Oh, me too. They have to.
Man, that fight with Apocalypse was tubular,
radical.
dude. Yeah.
There better be an episode that starts with Nirvana, or I'm gonna cancel the show.
That would be amazing. Although Cobain would have been dead before then. He died in '93, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
way before '97. Anyway, was it '93? I think it's '95. But anyway, back to you, Murphy, for your point. Your final point.
94. He died April 5th, 1994.
Yeah. My final point, I guess I don't entirely have one. My only thought was like, if Longshot is, his powers are luck based and Domino's powers are luck based, who's going to win in that fight? I wonder.
Well, let me branch off your point then for the final point. The final 10 point is, so here my theory is we never will ever see Longshot in the MCU. And the reason I believe that is because we already have Domino. I think they'll bring Domino back, at least in some sort. She's a more popular character than Longshot, generally.
And Zazie Beetz hot.
Yeah, and Zazie Beetz is a good actress, too. I like her. So I don't think we'll ever see Longshot. Like, two characters with luck powers, I doubt it. Though it's pretty great the way they used it in Deadpool too. Like, it's not very cinematic, and then it's just everything exploding all around her and everything. I thought they used the luck powers really well in that movie.
Yeah, which made me contemplate what would a fight between Domino and Longshot would look like. Is it just them someone goes to make a move, and then it's just like what's that term of a bunch of shit that falls over, Rube Goldberg machine. It just turns into like a Rube Goldberg fight between the two of them. Like, that shit would be fun.
That would be pretty interesting. Yeah, or like one of those, or like the fight at like in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, where they're just like, he's like, I'm going to go ahead in the future after I win the fight and leave myself the key to unlock this door. And then like, well, we're going to go ahead in the future after we unlock the fight and turn that key into soap. And then like, I'm going to go ahead after I win the fight. And they just do this back and forth until eventually somebody has to win the fight because, that's how the show ends. But I just love this one up in each other with time travel until eventually somebody hits a wall.
Yeah, I feel like the only logistical way you could get away with a fight like that is to have the chaotic Rube Goldberg machine, and then it just ends with both of them in a draw getting knocked out by something super, super random.
Or they just get tired because neither of them ever get knocked out. But
or whatever their tiff is just quietly gets resolved on the side, and they're just like, oh, okay,
That was lucky that we managed to settle that with words in the end, that kind of thing.
Dude, yes, perfect.
Yeah, there you go. A little segue to our next segment is, you guys are probably familiar with the comic series Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe.
Yes.
Yeah, well, there's also Longshot Saves the Marvel Universe.
Is it from Deadpool?
I don't know. I haven't read it yet. It's hard to find it, actually. So it's not going to be my recommendation, but we're going to do that segment now. So let's see what everybody's reading and wants the people to read here.
Hey, check this out.
This is our comic reminiscences and recommendation segment. Hey, check this out. Does anyone want to go first? I'll go first because I usually go first on this segment because it usually connects to the episode. Yeah. So what I got here, it's very 90s, it's very X-Men, it's very Mojo. It's Shattershot. That's an epic cover. It was all over like Pizza Hut merchandise and everything back in the day. Like, you've probably seen this image before, especially that Cyclops image. Shatter's 4-part story. Went through the annuals, through the X books. So you got part 1 in X-Men, part 2 in Uncanny, part 3 in, there's Mojo and Spiral there, part 3 in X Factor, and part 4 in X Force. There's the young Longshot himself, Shatterstar there. So that gets me to my point a little bit about this story. So this story, well, I'm about to get to that. So in this story, Shattershot, there's another rebellion going on Mojo World, because it happens a lot, because there's the spineless ones, but there's also the bipedal people of Mojo World. And there's often the spineless ones took over because it's like the leader of the bipedal people felt bad for the spineless ones, so built them these machines that Mojo rides on, and then they use those to take over the place.
Interesting,
because they're insane. Like, they, as David Cutler mentioned on the show before, Mojo was driven insane. All the people of Mojo were driven insane by Earth entertainment and television, basically. So in this story, there's that rebellion going on, and it's also the first appearance of Mojo 2, the sequel. Ooh. And Mojo 2, the sequel, shows up later on in X-Men 11 and 12. Or no, 10 and 11. This is X-Men 11. Great cover there. And so that's also a thing. But in Shattershot, it also is the first hints towards Shatterstar being the offspring of Longshot and Dazzler, which does turn out to be the case. But they kind of washed that over in the comics. Like, Dazzler was pregnant, and then like a year later in the comics, or a couple years later, she wasn't, and there was no baby or anything. But so yeah, he's from 100 years in the Mojo world's future, Shatterstar, but he is the offspring of Longshot and Dazzler. And he's also thought, which they also hint at in the Shattershot story, that he is going to be the savior of Mojo world, Shatterstar. Inevitably, he's kind of like their messiah. So yeah, it's a twisted tale of Mojo stuff, but go check it out, Shattershot. Sweet 90s art, you know.
Sweet 90s art.
Yeah.
How beautiful it is. All right, my comic recommendation is, as I always just recommend whatever I'm currently reading, Rick and Morty versus Dungeons and Dragons. This is done by a former guest on my my other podcast. Two actually former guests from other podcast, Graphic Histories. This is written by Jim Zub. The first series co-written by Jim Zub, and I believe he single wrote the second and third one, and drawn by Troy Little, who's a friend of mine as well. Jim's not a fan, he's on the show, or a friend, he's in the show. I'm sure he could be if we got to know each other better. But Troy is in fact a friend. So yeah, it's amazing art. It's a co-creation between Oni Press and IDW and Adult Swim, combining Rick and Morty and Dungeons and Dragons, which actually does so in such a fun and clever way. And kind of like this is all three of the series in one, with a special bonus Meeseeks special they did for this version. This is like the ultimate complete edition. In fact, I got a little sketch in here from Troy somewhere of he drew a little where can I find it? Oh yeah, there it is. He signed it. You can see little Troy Little there. See, drew a little Rick.
Very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a super fun book. It actually, like, I've never really played D&D, and this book actually illustrates just how I think it was meant to be a fun little thing within the Rick and Morty universe, but also kind of like educate a little bit on how much fun D&D can be. And it was really good. And actually sort of illustrates how much fun D&D could be. For someone who's never played it before, it made me a lot more interested in wanting to actually try it. And it's a fun little book that if you love Rick and Morty as I do, and you love fun comics, it fills both niches very well. So it's a very good thing. Pick it up. This deluxe edition is super cool because it has everything in it. So you just got to buy the one. If you see Troy at conventions, he's usually selling it. Otherwise, get it online or in your usual comic stores. But yeah, check it out. It's very, very good.
Murphy.
So to be fair, I don't read comics probably.
Get the fuck out of here, Chris Murphy. Cut his mic.
Sorry,
cut his mic.
I do read comics. I do read, and I do have a recommendation.
Okay.
I just don't read them as often as you guys do.
Okay,
So
that's fine.
My recommendation is Grant Morrison's The Filth.
That's one of my all-time favorites.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's one of the wackiest and wildest comic rides I've ever had. It's got a character named Slade who's being kind of pseudo stalked by this almost Trinity-esque character, and they pull him into what can only be described as the microcosm universe. And he goes through quite a fucking ride, and there's a lot of really gritty and dark subcontext within this story. And it's just one of the more impactful reads I've ever had. The art is just some of the most jaw-dropping you can see.
I tried to get the artist on my other show. I talked to him on Facebook, but he doesn't really do interview shows. He doesn't feel like he's good at them. But it would have been a dream come true. I told him I totally understand, but I just want you to know, The Filth is one of the life-changing books for me, and he was very nice about it. So I love it. Put it on your flowers, Ned. One of the best lines in any book. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I I feel like it's a good segue from Rick and Morty as well. You know,
yeah, very existential, very deep in the, the sort of idea that the shit behind everything is sort of the fertilizer that makes everything grow too, and it's very interesting and good. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great comic.
I contemplated getting a tattoo of the hand, the division of the hand that he was in several times. The fist and the little. Yeah, I've looked at it a few times. Someday I might.
Just maybe.
Yeah.
Final wall space.
My remote!
This is a new segment. My Remote with Andre. It's the same as the last segment, but it's just got a new name. And this way, I'm not pinning you down. Is hard with like movies from.
No, I actually kind of like that.
My Remote can include TV as well.
Yeah. So but it's still stuff from the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, are you unshackling me totally? No, and that's fine because I actually like the idea because it makes me think about trying to find perhaps a movie that is relevant to the episode from the time period. In fact, I did so. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. I watched it a lot as a kid. I think I had it recorded off TV, or maybe I rented it and recorded it or something. But it was not a lot of people have heard of it, and I wish more have. It's actually an incredibly entertaining film, and it heavily deals with subjects very similar to what we deal with in this episode. About voyeurism, about television, about entertainment, about putting people in danger for the entertainment of the audience. The movie is called Stay Tuned.
Oh, I knew you were going to bring up
Ritter.
Stay Tuned. We've talked about this movie about 5 times on this show.
I know,
already.
but it's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, it's great.
Starring John Ritter, Pam Dauber, and Jeffrey Jones, and Eugene Levy. Also, eagle-eyed viewers may notice a very young Sergeant Dokes from Dexter in it as well. But it is, so basically John Ritter plays a man who's in a marriage. His wife is unhappy because he basically is lazy and only watches TV all the time. He's kind of obsessed with television. She wants him to get his life back on track. He has no interest in doing that. Until he is visited by a charismatic salesman who is in fact the devil, played by Jeffrey Jones, the principal from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He's a problematic figure currently, but at this point was just who he was. That he sells him a satellite dish with 666 channels of the best entertainment that he'll ever see. Turns out the channels he's watching are channels from hell. It's hell's
They're evil.
And using the remote control, which actually can input you right into the channels. John Ritter's character and his wife get sucked into the TV, and using the remote to travel between different channels, they have to try to escape destruction. If they die in the world, then their souls belong to the devil, who it was all in the contract that Ritter signed without really reading it, of course. So their kids are in the real world trying to help them by changing channels and throwing stuff into the satellite dish to help their parents and the TV channels there. But it's full of amazing parodies of things from that time period, including they have a Dwayne's Underworld segment in which, it's Wayne's Underworld, but they're zombies. They're animated. They're in an animated cartoon. They're in a wrestling match. They're in a Janet Jackson music video.
Northern Overexposure.
And they're all like dark versions. There's driving over Miss Daisy, where the car drives over her and then backs over a couple times. There's different strokes where it's just two old guys dying of different types of strokes. One is like, I can't feel my arm, and the other's like, I smell toast, and they both just die. It's different strokes and stuff like that. It's full of that fun parody. In fact, the movie night I host at the local brewery, we just watched Weird Al's UHF, which also shows fun parodies. It was a really fun night. It's a really fun movie to watch with people.
You got to get Stay Tuned into that movie night.
That actually is a good idea. I probably will someday.
I'm just gonna lament real quick and share my FOMO. So as Andre had just mentioned, UHF, one of my all-time favorite films. So recently here in Toronto, they're having the TIFF, and 2-3 days ago, Weird Al Yankovic premiered his new film, his biopic Yankovic, Weird, sorry, and I had an opportunity to go, but I didn't have the cash to go, so I missed out because the releasing this film on fucking Kudo or some garbage like
Roku.
that, and I'm just like
Roku,
right? Yeah. So they're releasing the film on Roku, and I'm like, no, this film needs to be seen in theaters. I want to see this movie in theaters. I never got to see UHF in theaters, This is the first film that Weird Al's made in 30 years. I want to see this one in theaters. Now it's coming out on Roku. All right, fine. I guess I'll watch it.
Theater might put it up.
Nope. I mean, I'm hoping there's some independent theaters around town, and I'm hoping one of them will be like we're having a showing of that. I'm just wondering.
Email them, ask them to do it.
Demand
you
it,
can host
right?
it.
But
yeah.
But that being said, the opportunity to go see that film and have Weird Al and fucking Daniel Radcliffe and all that be in the building, I'm very jealous of everyone that could.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I really want to see it.
Yeah. All right.
What were you doing? Playing with matches?
It's X-Teen-Bit Gaming with Super Nintendo Scalehorn. All right, so I can't believe I haven't mentioned these games yet, because this is my favorite series of video games that span the 8-bit and 16-bit era. And there's not much more fun to be had. If you want to have fun for a half hour, NES, Contra. So fun. Trying to run through Contra. Everyone uses this. I've seen videos and stuff on the internet. Apparently it became standard to use the 99 lives code, the Konami code, if you will. But I never did. You see people commenting on how nobody can beat it without that code. I can beat it without that code. So anyone who's telling you that, don't Konami code this game. Just do it. Get yourself a partner. It's easier with two people. And then beat Super C, which is Contra 2 for the NES, because it's different than Contra, but maybe a slight bit better. And then once you've done that, graduate onto your Super Nintendo and play Contra 3. Harder, way harder than the other
Contra
two.
Going on here.
Yeah, that's my favorite series. This is the Contra.
I have the soundtrack on vinyl for the first Contra game.
Oh wow, that's a good one. Do we collect DVDs? Sam wants to know.
I
I
sure
do
do,
not.
Sam.
I gave up on physical media.
I collect Blu-rays and 4Ks. Yes.
There's a few Blu-ray 4Ks I want to get. I did have a pretty solid DVD collection, Sam, but if you want to see what happened to my DVD collection, go to my YouTube channel /Worldmind, and you can watch what I did where I gave away my entire DVD collection. I just put it out on the street, and then I watched a bunch of people take what
Hold that, Murphy.
You must believe me. I'm not going mad.
The madness of Murphy. Talk about whatever you want. What's driving you mad, either positively or negatively? And continue your story about throwing DVDs away.
My DVDs. That was a few years ago. I gave those DVDs up because I was trying to minimize my stuff to impress a girl that I love that ultimately broke up with me. So I threw away all my DVDs for nothing, but whatever.
Did you learn?
Even your adamantium ribs couldn't save you from a broken heart.
No, not that day. Otherwise, I've just been. I'm hoping to get back into some personal creative editing. I've been pretty swamped with a project going on at work for the past year. We literally just finished that. It's like my every waking moment was just completing that to make sure we were done on time. So I've been watching like Kids in the Hall while I do that, getting caught up on Kids in the Hall.
Classic or new?
So I started with the new, and I watched the first 2 episodes, and I was like, okay, hang on. And then I watched the documentary, which was a great documentary, and that honestly made me want to go back and start with the old and work my way back up to the new. Right now, I'm on like season 3, like mid-season 3. I was like watching a bunch of them, and then I started getting burnt out on them because it's so much like sketch comedy. Like some of it's good, but a lot of it doesn't hold up. So it's
do you feel that?
Yes,
I'm crushing your head.
I'm crushing your head.
I'm pinching your face. It's pinching your face.
Crushing your head. I've sort of like weaned those down to single episodes. I've been honestly if you guys want to watch something like completely unexpected and amazing and completely outside of the purview of anything you probably generally watch, I can't recommend this show enough. It's on Netflix. It's called Extraordinary Attorney Woo. It's a Korean drama about a young lady on the autism spectrum, but she's like a super genius at litigation, and she's an attorney. And I guarantee if you just try the first episode, you'll be so enthralled. It's subtitled, so like there might be a dubbed version, but I personally, I prefer the sub version. It just the emotion plays so much better, and honestly, they don't go by so fast that you can't read them. But whatever. Also, I didn't realize my fucking microphone was down here. I'm sorry. Extraordinary Attorney Woo is one of the most enthralling shows I've watched. Just because of its endearing lightheartedness. It's a refreshing change of pace compared to what's been plastered on screens for arguably the past 10 years, in my opinion. Give it that first episode a watch. If you're not hooked by the end of that first episode, you probably don't have a heart, in my opinion. It's just adorable. It's one of the most adorable shows. One of the best seasons. Yeah, it's honestly one of the best seasons that I've watched next to Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Like, out of all the shows I've watched this year, that and Strange New Worlds are my top two. What question do you have for me, Sam?
Yeah, just ask the question. This is more of like a can I ask you a question questions. It's like you just did. So, yeah.
Yeah, just shoot me a question.
Just shoot the question.
Like I'll see your texts and all that eventually. I'll answer.
You ever been to Newfoundland?
I haven't been to Newfoundland. No, I've never been to
Sam.
Newfoundland. I've got family that have a strong Newfoundland lineage. I was actually just at my cousin's wedding there the other weekend. So like, having to travel down for that for a couple of days and then get back here to Toronto for work and all that stuff. I've never been to Newfoundland. I've been to Toronto, Saskatchewan, New York, Chicago, Quebec, PEI, New Brunswick.
And X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show.
That's right. Welcome. Welcome.
We're not doing the classic version of Guess the Statistics, which we established last episode. So,
I'm enjoying watching how far you reach for these X puns. It's my favorite part of this show.
So
let's do one.
I just thought you guys might want to guess, just shot in the dark. What city in the world do you think our podcast is the most popular in? Like, there's one city in the world that we get way more listens from than any other, and by quite a significant margin. Which is
can we know the continent?
The country? I'll start you with the continent. Okay, North America.
Oh, okay, I was going to say, really interesting somewhere in Europe. What city?
I'll say New York.
I'm going to say San Antonio, Texas.
It's in Canada.
Oh. Toronto, Ontario. Vancouver. Yeah, I'll go Vancouver. Nope.
Get a shot, Murphy?
I'm going to say Fredericton.
Calgary, Alberta. We're very popular, fellas.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Because we are super left-leaning on this show, and that seems like a super right-leaning place.
Apparently so is Calgary.
Wow, good. There's a beacon of hope.
No, hasn't Calgary had like a super leftist mayor for like a super long time? They're pretty leftist in that city, I think.
Calgary, yeah. Well, yeah, they have had a
liberal
government for a while. Yeah.
It was a long time.
I was only in Calgary for like a brief week there in the March.
All our Calgarian listeners may hate all the stuff we're now saying about Calgary and stop listening to the show. So we'll see.
I have many friends in Calgary, and I plan on visiting soon-ish. So
I liked Calgary. I thought it was a perfectly nice city. It was surprisingly empty, but I guess that's because of the post-COVID era that the city's just empty nowadays. So
I kind of like it. You can see the mountains on a clear day. Yeah, I like Calgary.
I mean, you can sort of see the mountains on a clear day if you're in Calgary. Compared to like Salt Lake City, Utah, you can see the mountains at any given moment. They're literally like right there. It's so cool.
All right. Well, I think we'll start wrapping her up now, fellas. We're getting to the end here. Okay, well, where are we at?
The answer to your question, Sam, no, I don't have Star Trek on DVD, and my cousin got married in Nova Scotia.
Homework from Professor Zandre.
Watch the next episode, Cold Comfort, in which we meet Iceman, Bobby Drake, for the first time in the continuity of the show. See if we have any other.
Joined by frequent guest and friend of the show, Dave Cutler, Marvel Comics artist extraordinaire.
Really? Dave's coming back for gold? Yes, Dave.
Yep,
good.
He's coming back next week.
I can give him my blood oath that if I die, he has to take my place in person.
Yeah, and
I'm just going to point out that the Iceman definitely kills the scientist at the beginning of that episode, because it just started like autoplaying on my Disney. I watched it for like a brief second, and he's just like,
spoiler alert. Previously on
we can't say the word kills due to the standards. He told that guy
canceled
or takes his life or cancels
he canceled two scientists.
He canceled the shit out of that man.
He put him on ice.
Oh yes.
Anything happening? You gotta know when you're coming back with graphic histories.
No, I'm gonna start putting feelers out, but probably not until after the play I'm in is over, just because I've been far too busy. Right. If it wasn't for the fact I'm in this stupid podcast, I'm just kidding. I'd have more time, but unfortunately I am, and I really enjoy it. So I can take a little hiatus. I've been doing it straight for almost 3 years, so a little hiatus for a few months will never hurt nobody.
Good back catalog. I've been hyping your back catalog. Go back.
There's lots there. Yeah,
man. There is. And check out the Cutest of Trek. There's an episode on the comedy of Star Trek we put up in pretty recently. And did we just do a Debate 9? We did just do a Debate 9. That was really fun.
You can find those.
Yeah, go for it, Murphy.
You can find those episodes on Live Long and Podcast, the Star Trek TV movie reviews podcast.
Locutors of Trek, we've been assimilated by the Borg. We're all one big happy family now. I mean, it's all in the early stages. We're not saying too much, but Graphic Histories is on board this happy ship, good ship as well. We're all going big.
Am I?
Yeah, you are.
You said you were.
I thought we were talking about our show, the other show. Oh no, I'm okay. I'm cool with it. It sounds fun. So yeah,
we'll discuss all this post cast. But
let's do it here. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine.
100%. But yeah, there's a big podcast family in the word.
Yes, I'll be there.
So Trivial Debates coming up this Sunday. We've also got
I host Trivial Debates
Saturday with Live Long Podcast.
Oh yeah, so Live Long and Podcast. They got Star Trek Radio Theater coming up on Saturday. Look, I got a busy weekend with these podcast boys. I got to play the hippie in the TOS episode. The hippie Adam I play in the Space Hippies episode of TOS. I got to sing a lot.
Space hippies.
I got to play a space hippie. I'm not saying I'm being typecast, but I don't know.
I would just like to say I was at a party this past weekend for a friend's birthday, and I got a lot of flack for claiming outwardly that my favorite Star Trek is Deep Space Nine. People were like, "What?"
It's clearly the best one. I mean,
agreed. Thank you. I'm glad there's rational
by leaps and bounds. And I love the other ones, but Deep Space Nine is the best show in the history of TV. And they got Super Mater Brothers as well, where they do their reality show reviews and things like that, and other shows and movies and stuff at times. But yeah, Trivia Debates on Sunday. I'm hosting the All Music edition, so check that out. Questions like,
how did I not get on that episode? I thought I was like, I'm all for being a contestant on the All Music episode. What happened? Where did the cracks
Dr. Producer Dave. I don't find
my cousin Dave is also Producer Dave?
Yeah, Cousin Dave's Producer Dave.
Yes.
Well, you talk to Cousin Dave. I'll have a talking to Cousin Dave for you.
Yeah.
Well, it's
next time he's on the show.
There'll be more than one musical themed episode.
I'll break his legs.
Look forward to our new segment, Stern Talking To with Andre.
That's right. It's just me beating people for the entire episode.
You got to drop the big leg at the end, though.
That's the worst move ever. No, I'm not doing that.
What? You're not dropping the big
worst
leg?
Finisher ever. Come on. Don't bring it up.
No, the worst finisher ever is the worm. Sorry.
Oh, that's true. It is pretty bad.
Who did that?
Are we going to have a wrestling podcast, Andre?
Scotty Too Hottie. We could.
Right.
I mean, I am a wrestler. It's just my
bring Jamil in on it.
Sure.
Jamil would love that. So yeah, we're at the end of this podcast, I think, fellas.
It's done. We're done.
No, it's over.
We've reached the end of this long and winding road.
You can support the show at patreon.com/X-Men Review Show. You can get your merch. We get a lot of merch there for you. You know, most of them, your donation goes to your own merch. We just get a little cut. So yeah, do that. Get some sweet merch. You know,
keep the lights on.
This one's for you, more.
As they say, this one's for you, more. You can contact us at X-Men Review Show at gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Patreon, wherever you want to follow us. We're there. You can find our audio-only version wherever you get your podcast. Pretty much everywhere you get your podcast. And if you enjoyed us, please like, review, subscribe. Helps us get more eyes or ears on this lovely podcast that we love bringing to you all. Any final thoughts, fellas?
Follow me on my socials: Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Worldmind. Have some fun chatting with me there. You got more questions? Shoot me questions there. I'll happily answer with you.
He's a man of the world. That's for sure.
It's true. It's true.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well,
that's all, folks.
Catch you next time.
Next time.
1, 2, 3.
Bye-bye.